Welcome, everybody. And I just want to introduce Alyson Horn. She is an amazing person. She's an integrative naturopath, a somatic practitioner, a homeopath, herbalist, and a keynote speaker, as well as an author. But most importantly, she's here as an independent Zinzino partner. And we'll hear how she also integrates Zinzino into all her naturopathic and all these practices. Thank you so much, Alyson, and welcome today.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction, Karen. Well, welcome everyone tonight. I'm quite sure that you are all here for this exact reason, that you want to feel good, stay fit, and be healthy. We all want to age well. We don't want to feel like we're aging at all, really. I know that's my jam. I want to keep dancing until the last breath I take. So that means understanding what we can do to feel healthy throughout any stage of the life that we are at. But sadly, the world is full of so much information. We know so much about health, social media, we're told so many things, Dr. Google, Chat GPT, but why is it that the world is on fire? We have a highest rate, I guess you could say, really, of inflammation in the world as well as information. So what's really going on at the bottom level? It's time to find out why and what can we do about this. We know that the world is a saturated place with so many disease and health conditions. So a company 20 years ago, that's right, 2 decades ago, discovered this little hidden ratio. They discovered something underlying inflammation, and they've been working towards a solution for this problem, and that is Zinzino. They are a wellness company based out of Norway. Trying to get my head right there. It's been a little while, out of Scandinavia themselves. So what I do love about Zinzino Company and why I am so passionate about this being a lot of the answers moving forward is, as any company, their products are as only good as the company behind the products. So we know that they are on the NASDAQ and they have been growing. And this is a bit of the business, but when we look at business, we also know how well the company is going to performing, so that we know that they're actually going to do what they promise. Because a lot of times promises are made in marketing, okay, on both sides of the fence. And a lot of promises in marketing can only be backed up if the funds are there. So I love that they're a NASDAQ, which means we get to see and understand what is going on in the company, and also knowing that each year they are growing in sales. They're double digiting, which is really hard in any business to do year on year on year. So this is what I love about this global health and wellness company. And I personally have been approached as a health practitioner by a lot of companies with all the latest cures, all the latest answers to every disease, and yet they don't back it up with the science and with the strong financial company support as well. So that's a little bit of a jump in there for me this year. So we know through these tests, we have done over 1.5 million blood spot tests around the world. Now, what these tests have shown us is statistically 97% of those tested have an issue with what we are testing. They are out of balance. Okay, so we're going to be talking about ratios. I love to bring in the science just enough for you to understand the bigger picture. So when we talk about a ratio, this is what happens in the body. The body is just a big biochemical factory that you need a lot of ratios of chemistry in the right numbers. Otherwise, things go wrong. Okay. So just want you to remember that. So around the world, could you imagine if we tested 1.5 million people and we could say that 97% of those were going to be diagnosed with a higher incidence of early death or an increased risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease? Do you think that's something that we should be looking at? Because at the end of the day, this is the information that we have right at our fingertips, literally our blood out of our fingertips. We know this. This is an independent lab where we send these tests. Okay, so these guys are official partners of many other very big named laboratories around the world, independent researchers. such as Cambridge, Harvard University, Oxford University, etc. So this is not something that is just designed for us in our own building or part of the Zenzino company. This is a partnership. Okay, so the test results that do get sent to this lab are 100% non-identifiable. So if you have not done a test yet, I'm going to give you a tip. This card, if you can see it, is what you will find in your test kit. It is so important. Write your name on there, write the date, and write the number of your test. Okay, keep this safe. Don't give it to your dog. Don't leave it stuck on the fridge. Take a photo of it, because this number is the only thing that is sent to VITAS. Without that number, you lose your results. So therefore you lose spending a couple of $100 on a test or more, nearly 300, 290, could be. So this is very valuable. Please do not lose it. Okay, that's tip number 1 for the night. Okay. So we know, backing the science that we get from these reports, we have these Chief Scientific Advisory Board who have been developing not only the tests, which are groundbreaking, but also the solutions. Okay, so we are test, don't guess. And we're also, let's test to see if you really need this product. This is not about just trying to sell everyone a product. This is, let's look at where your biochemistry is at. Then we can tell you what you need to do. And then we can retest it again in 4 months, which is after the 120-day red blood cell cycle. And we can measure how well you've improved and what else you need to do in your diet, in your environment, to help support this that we can see in your blood spot testing. Pretty cool, isn't it? So these are the top scientific advisors in their fields around the world. And what is even best is we have these doctors and scientists and researchers, literally, once again, pardon the pun, at our fingertips. We can jump on a Zoom call with Dr. Paul Clayton. We ask him questions live. We get to talk to the scientific advisors. If we have an issue, if we see something we don't know what's happening or understand, we can ask for help. Now, there's not a lot of companies that you have the access to the scientific minds at such a fingertip. I'm saying that a lot tonight, aren't I? At the fingertip. So what is this all about? I want you to remember an omega-6, okay? You've been told to eat more omega-6s over the last 50 years. End of story. But what are they? They are actually essential fatty acids. Now, these essential fatty acids are not produced within the body. We need to consume them. And what they do is, in this instance, the omega-6s turn on inflammation. So an inflammatory reaction to actually help the body heal and to protect it under injury, infections. It's like calling the army in. That's what inflammation is. So we do need inflammation in our body to heal. We've all experienced a fever at some time of our life. Fever is the body's natural way of helping get the healing chemicals into the right place. Now, on the opposite flip side, we have an omega-3. Once again, it's an essential fatty acid. The difference is this one turns off inflammation. So we have an accelerator with omega-6 and the brakes with omega-3. That's all you need to remember. Now, the omega-3s are something you would probably be familiar as being called fish oils. Okay, so they've been around and we were told to consume less of them because they were saturated fats. Interesting, yet we need those to slow down inflammation. The trick is we need these in a ratio. Just as you are driving down the freeway in your car, you know exactly how much to have the accelerator on so that you can brake safely behind the car in front of you. What happens if you're driving and those brakes do not work, but the accelerator is going faster and faster? It's the same thing in the body. We turn on too many omega-6s is like putting too much fuel, the gas to the pedal to the metal, okay? And there's no brakes, no omega-3s to slow us down. So all you do is create the fire within, which is a body on fire, which is inflammation in the body. You are on fire. You're flamed. Okay, so you're burning up. And this is the science that is not being spoken about with the average everyday medical profession. The 3-to-1 ratio is so important. So how did we really get here? And what does this really mean? Okay, you were born with a 1-to-1 ratio. That's what we are designed in our DNA to have exposure to, a 1-to-1 ratio. But as we've moved through the changes, well, let's go back. The changes in our farming practices have moved us away from just being able to consume natural foods, all our phytonutrients, our essential minerals, out of the soil, out of the food, out of the meat, out of our fish, all naturally consumed. That's not what happens anymore. Sadly, in the last 60 years, we have just seen an increase of chemicals, of processing, of farming, of feeding artificial food to our chickens, our livestock, our fish, which have all increased the polyunsaturated fats. Remember the upside down pyramid that's just been flipped that told us to consume more polyunsaturated fats over the last 50 to 60 years. This is what's had this impact in our body. Our bodies were not designed to have too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. It's just simple science. It's simple ratios. It's not hard to get your head around. So when you understand that what happens next, I will let you know. But that is where we've been moving in the last 50 to 60 years. And what's happening is each decade, these ratios have silently gotten worse. And we pass that on to the next generation. Then there's more processed foods. There's less nutrition in that generation. Then they give birth to the next generation. As you can see, it's a snowballing effect. That's why we are where we are today with ratios like 25-to-1. So why does it cause damage? This is my little absolute love talking about the cellular membrane. I want you just to picture if you've ever blown bubbles, because literally our body is made up with trillions of bubbles. Those are what our cell structure is. Now, we know that bubbles have to have the right consistency of detergent, otherwise they just pop, they don't last. But for a nice big juicy bubble to be floating along in the air, you really need to have the detergent water mix correct. It's the same with the structure of our cell. That's the cell membrane. Okay, it is made up of a very specific ratio with the hydrolytic tails on the inside and the fat on the outside. So the omega-6s and the omega-3s are what we're talking about when we talk about fats. Okay, these essential fatty acids. Too many omega-6s makes this membrane like cement, rigid. The right amount of omega-3s makes the cell membrane fluid, okay, flexible. That's all you need to know. You can't get much nutrition past a cement wall. So the idea for you to note here, even if you don't know biochemistry, the most important thing you will hear in social media these days is a lot of people talking about the mitochondria. How we understand that is the energy source in the body, sorry. So this is the powerhouse. It needs fuel to be fired. How do you get the fuel to the mitochondria? How do you get the fuel to the mitochondria? It passes through the cell membrane. So if your cell membrane is on fire, your cell membrane is rigid, are you going to get the nutrients in all these wonderful supplements that you're taking? Are they going to pass through the cell membrane to the mitochondria and all the other organelles and everything that goes on inside a cell? The answer is no. And not only that, is when you do have a little bit of production of energy and we produce our wastes, our toxins get produced inside the cell, they need to come out of the cell membrane. to be eliminated out of the body, out of the skin, out of the breath, out of the bowels, out of the kidneys. These are the organs that pass the toxins back out, but they still are full of cells. So as you can see, this body, once those cells start to get out of whack and rigid, it affects the whole body. We're not just talking about cardiovascular disease. We're not just talking about inflammation in the brain or the skin. We're talking about joint pain, brain fog, forgetfulness, dry skin, losing your hair, hardened arteries, metabolic dysfunction leading to things like insulin resistance. It affects every single cell in every single organ, in every single organ system within the whole body. Okay, now don't forget, if you've got any questions around this, you need a bit of clarification, please remember to ask at the end of it, because I love just helping people understand the basics of biology, to understand why this is so important, so you can share this with others and you understand what's happening in your own body. Because at the end of the day, the good news is we can change this. Okay, we can get that cell membrane flexible again by getting enough omega-3s to the cell membrane. Okay, that's the trick. So then our nutrients can come in and then the waste can come back out again. And did you know that the chief scientific advisors, we've had this discussion, when you fix this cell membrane, you get it back in the green, literally, 70%, around 70% of all your metabolic functions actually start to function better on their own without anything else. Okay, just as you fix this, a lot of other things just automatically start falling into place. So that's the place we want people to be, because then the things that can't be changed obviously need a deeper picture and a look at. And that's where I, as a practitioner, will always start. All of my clients have to start on this journey, because to me, without doing it, it's wasting time, it's wasting money, and it's wasting the effort of taking a lot of supplements, changing diets, and doing a lot of things that are not going to be working optimally. Okay. So the problem is, as I said before, 97% of people have this issue and are walking around without knowing, because inflammation is chronic, but it's also silent until you get chronic symptoms. And then usually people are on anti-inflammatories, pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories, and are told they have to be on those for the rest of their life. So instead of waiting for the symptoms, we here at Zenzino believe in preventative medicine. This is what it's all about. This is why we do the pathology testing, to get in first and to find out what is happening at that cellular level that you may think is just normal aging. Oh yeah, I'm getting old. I'm 55 now. Of course I'm going to be forgetting things. Of course my joints are going to be sore when I get out of bed. Guess what? No. You don't have to live thinking that aging is the end of the world. We can all age healthy and happy. So I'm just going to play this because this is where it really begins. Okay, this is where it all begins.
Your kid's health is personal, not a guessing game. Children's omega-3 needs are different than adults. Not all bodies are created equal, so why should we all take the same supplements? Ours were made for your whole family. Find out everyone's individual omega-3 needs with our at-home balance test. Our brand new Balance Oil Tutti Frutti has a fresh flavor of raspberry, mint, lemon, pear, and lavender, tailored for both grown-ups and kids, with no fishy taste. Backed by science, approved by kids. From the pioneers of test-based personalized nutrition, Zenzino, inspire change in life.
And this is why I love to play that in the beginning, because I really want you to spread the word about the children, the future generation. What we are seeing are children with very high ratios. And as I said before, the snowball effect. So each generation is born with higher levels. So could you imagine them in another 50 years' time if we are not addressing this now? Okay, so sadly, there's a lot of work to be done to educate people around this and to really talk to the mothers, the pregnant women, the breastfeeding mums, and those with children, especially under the age of 5 or even 9. As you can see here, these are some ratios. These are from test-based results around the world. So 0 to 9 age group, they're born on average 18.9 to 1. I want you to look down at and look at the 70-year-olds. Their levels are still high, but a lot less considering. Okay, so this is proof that each generation is getting worse. Now, if you're taking an omega-3, you're thinking, okay, I've listened to this, but it's all good. I'm taking omegas and I eat a lot of fish. This is the ratios of those who are taking a standard omega oil or are on a pescatarian diet. So yes, the ratios have come down, but they are still not under 3 to 1. And why? Well, we'll discuss that a bit later. Pardon me. These are the second test results after we have had people on their 120-day with the balance oil and the ratios that we've come back down to normal. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So once again, this is the information around the maternity balance kit. Why I love to talk about why this is so important during pregnancy, for the pregnancy, okay, as well as the baby, as well as the birth, and even postnatal. We know the link between the omegas and brain health. If the mother's brain is starving of omegas, everything will go to the baby first. That leaves the mother at a higher risk of developing postnatal depression, anxiety. Okay, so and that also affects the baby. So what's happening to the mum during pregnancy is what's happening to the baby as well. So to move forward, we need to address the next generation because we know, thanks to statistics, that this is exactly what's happening. Okay, we can tell that reducing your omega-6 to 3 ratio reduces your risks of colorectal and breast cancer, inflammatory diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, eczema, cardiovascular disease. The science is there. This has been around since 2009. This is not new science, people. It's just nobody's talking about it on this level because the average omegas have not been able to do what the Zenzino can do now. Okay, a low omega-3 index is just as bad to your health as smoking. I'm sure I don't have to lecture anyone about those statistics. But the secret is why we are so different is because we have combined the fish oil, wild fish oil or algae, with polyphenols from olives. Now, I do this because the polyphenols wrap around the omega and they protect it, just like they do inside a fish. This is nature at its best. It's bringing back the synergy of what happens in nature to protect the omega-3s within the fish. And so our oxidative stability index, which is this slide, is showing how significantly more protective our Zenzino oil is compared to the others. Krill oil only lasts 3 hours in the body. Standard omega-3 with vitamin E added, maybe 10 hours. Cod liver oil, good old cod liver oil, we've all had that shoved down our throats over the years. With vitamin E, 15 hours. But look at this. This is Zenzino. This is combining the extra virgin olive oil from the olives with the omegas. 35 hours. So you're taking your oil consistently, therefore you're creating oxidative protection and getting that omega-3 to the cell membrane. That's why we see continuously the results change, time in and time out. Now, the other thing I want to talk very quickly about is another beautiful awakening that we have had in the last 25 years of understanding gut health. Recently, we now can talk about probiotics and people go, oh, I know what that is and I know it's good for reducing leaky gut. But the secret is it's actually the prebiotics that do the work to reduce leaky gut. Now, sadly, during our birth, during whether we're breastfed or not, can all affect our gut. The way our mother's gut microbiome is, what she was exposed to during her pregnancy, whether there was high stress levels, antibiotics, can all affect the gut microbiome once again of the baby, the future generation, the snowballing effect once again. This is why our Zenzino health protocol, with anyone that I work with in the clinic, I always combine these two. When you're hitting the inflammation in the gut as well as inflammation at the cellular level, you actually impact the body faster and more efficiently. And that's the beauty of Zenzino have now released a few months ago, the first in the world blood spot test that measures how healthy your gut microbiome function is. Most times we measure in a stool sample to see what microbiomes are there, but we're not telling whether those microbiome are actually working. It's like having a big factory and the factory have got half the workers not working. So we're actually measuring some indole 3 propionic acid, tryptophan, and also chiarenin. Now, these three markers are measured in the blood and they can tell us exactly what is happening in our gut. Once again, we're looking at ratios. So the ratios tell us how well the protection is in the gut for the immune system and also the brain health, because tryptophan is the key here. Tryptophan is the starting point whether we're going to go happy or stressed. It's as simple as that. It's the crossroads. So which way do you want your tryptophan to be converted in your body? I know I want to convert it to serotonin, which is the happy hormone. If it goes down this other pathway, the chiarenin, all that's doing is causing stress in the body, in the gut. Leaky gut, immune activation. So many other things that we could trigger, and I could be here all night talking about, but got to get moving along. So this is the latest test that looks at these key ratios: how well your microbiome turns your food into protection, how much immune stress is actually activated in your body, and the balance between the protection and the stress. Now, this I find is fascinating because I feel that this is the next layer that we're going to really understand how we can look at stress and the stress's effect on the body, which produces physical symptoms. Okay, so somebody could think that they're not under stress, but you can measure their gut and you know they've got unconscious stress because we're not always aware of the stresses that are stressing us. That's my other part of the world that I specialize in and love, the somatics and talking about all of these things. So we have a prebiotic fiber specifically mathematically designed by Dr. Paul Clayton himself to feed our microbiome all through the large intestine, all the way through, because they all like to have different fibers for their growth. And half the time we have reduced our fiber intake from at least 34 different fibers a week to less than 8. So we're really starving our gut microbiome. No wonder it's running amok. So this prebiotic fiber, please be noted, please start slowly on this. You give too much fun to the party, it's going to have a big party boom. So the microbiome is going to go, wee, what have you done to me? And then you'll get bloated and then you'll complain and say, this doesn't work. This makes me feel worse. Please always start with the Xenobiotic very slowly and work your way up, okay? Because it does adjust your gut microbiome very quickly. Within 2 weeks, we can reduce some of those lipopolysaccharides and those inflammatory biomarkers. And it's also looking at balancing the gram-positive and the gram-negative bacteria. Okay, and you will see here, this is beta-glucans from oat. This is safe for celiacs. This is gluten-free, 100% gluten-free oats. Okay, once again, though, please be mindful. We are all different and have different sensitivities. So if there is something in there, you need to just test and measure yourself if this is suitable. Now, we know that we have 18 health claims that have been approved by the European Food Safety Administration. Now, these food safety claims are not just given to anyone. These are not paid for. Okay, these are actual claims proven by science and research. And I love the ones, anything that talks about the fetus and the developing fetus and breastfed infants. Once again, passionate about the future generations. So also passionate about the poor old mums that are trying to bring through a healthier future generation. Okay, they're the two that we have to look after. The rushing mum syndrome, the ones that are working and balancing it all, are under a lot of stress but hold the whole families together. The omegas for you before you go into pregnancy, or even if you are breastfeeding, or if you're the mum of a young family. Those are the two, sorry, dads, but those are my two key ingredients. You keep those two happy and healthy, then it flows out to the rest of the family. Absolutely. So we do have these 3 tests. We have the balance test. We have the HbA1c test, which measures your 3 months of your insulin reactivity. So looking at your glycogen and how that's converting, your insulin resistance potential, looking at your blood sugar regulation, let's just say very basically over a 3-month period. Okay, your gut health test is the one we just spoke about, measuring the gut health, and the balance test we've spoken about not only measures the omega-3 to 6 ratio, but you'll be fascinated to know that we also measure 11 other essential fatty acids. How cool is that? So looking at those other 11 essential fatty acids, we can tell, is your imbalance from your diet? Are you eating too much of something? Are you eating not enough of something? Is there a little bit of an immune trigger that we can possibly sometimes? Even there can be genetic polymorphisms that we can see that things just don't convert over. So this is not the be all and end all. Sometimes you may need to take it to a health professional to work through, but this is designed for anyone. This is not for practitioners, guys. The information that comes with these tests are designed a very in-depth report for you to understand what is happening at your level without having to go to health professionals. That's what I love about the company. I love it so much that you don't need to lean on health professionals to look at the most top 3 markers that can keep your body healthy. Okay, so we fix this with the balance oil. Now, the balance oil is just a standard oil. We do have other oils. We have a vegan one for the vegans. Please, if you are vegan, I really do advise you to get tested. I have seen vegans time and time and time again thinking they are consuming the right amount of omegas through flax, through chia, through a lot of different things, and they're not converting in their body, and they're actually driving their own inflammation. So please, if you are a vegan, I really do encourage you to get tested. I've seen too many now. I start to see the patterns. Balance oil. Now, this balance oil is designed to be water soluble. Okay, it's the only one in the market. So if you don't have a gallbladder, if you struggle with your fat absorption, you need to do some liver detoxing, you're under a lot of biochemical overload, then I do advise sometimes that try the Aqua X. Some say it doesn't taste so good. I think it's fine, and I'm usually a sook. But anyway, sometimes that's what we will, in the integrative clinic that I work in, that is all we use because we have chronically inflamed patients. That is where we start. The next oil is the Balance Oil Premium. Now, this premium mix, if we do have extremely high levels of our ratios out of balance, we can look at the premium because it helps with a higher level of polyphenols, which is a higher ability to block the oxidative stress. Okay, so it's just trying to get that oxidative stress down as fast as we can and then come back down to the standard oils. For those who just need a capsule, which are great to travel in and easy to take, 2 capsules a day, nice soft gels. We do have the premium comes in the capsule form as well. And we spoke about the Xenobiotic. Now, we do have a secret weapon coming very soon, launching in Australia. That should be by the end of the month here, launching next month. So please keep your eyes and ears open for our beautiful collagen boost. The formula that they have created with this, with the marine algae, the marine number 1 and number 3, I think it is, the peptides with the collagen. The way that that is able to be absorbed in the body, it's backed up with hyaluronic acid, which supports the gut to produce its own collagen. Pretty cool. Supporting with rose hip and vitamin C and all of these beautiful ingredients. And we'll be doing a lot of 10-day challenges. I know there's lots of us who will be running those within our groups, where you take the collagen boost for 10 days. You take a photo of your face to begin with, and then again after 10 days, and you will very quickly start to see a change in your skin structure. And especially if you're using the balance oil on the inside, and this is promoting collagen growth on the inside as well. We know that the balance oil helps to keep the skin beautifully connected when those cells are healthy. And the other secret, my secret, is skin serum. I love the Zenzino skin serum. I've been using nothing but that for the last few years, and people telling me all the time that I'm glowing. I really do think it's got a big part to play. So the skin serum is like food for the outside of your skin. And here's a hot tip. Any of your chemical products, your cosmetic products in your bathroom, download the app called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. We'll pop that in the chat later. You can download the app and scan a lot of things to look for a lot of the toxic ingredients that people have been using without being aware of, such as aluminium and a lot of other nasties that are in a lot of products. And you can scan our Zenzino skin serum, and it's the only one I've found that scores 100 out of 100 for good. So yeah, look into it. So our products are made with the highest quality of care, and we know this because of the independent ticks. Now, the favorite one I will go through, you can have a look at all of these ticks. You can see a lot there, but my favorite is the Informed Sports. If there is anything wrong with the product processing, with the ingredients, if there is any risk at all, Olympians will not use it. Okay, they are the ones who are strictly monitored with everything they consume, even all the supplements. So if there is an issue with the Informed Sports, then they wouldn't be using it. And that's why I love the Informed Sports tick. So you know if it's good enough for the Olympians, then guess what? It's good enough for you and I. And the beauty of this product is it is beneficial from, I call it gestation, which is in the womb, like we have already spoken about, all the way through to the grave, which is geriatric. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you've never started anything before. It doesn't matter if what condition, what disease you have been diagnosed with. It doesn't matter. This just works on every single cell in your whole body. So it will benefit every single cell in your body to be optimally functioning. And when your cell's optimally functioning, then the rest of it is up to you. What else you bring in your diet, in your environment. But this is where you need to start. You need to start at the cell membrane and get this balance right. And that is why Zenzino relies heavily on the balance test, because it is really the power of the proof, the before and the after. I have had 3 people in my clinic through the hundreds of tests that I have already done, only 3 people who have come into the ratio under a 3-to-1 or near a 3-to-1. That is how significant this is. So that is why we test. We do not guess, because somebody can say, but I feel good, I don't have symptoms, and they could already be on the escalation of inflammation. Okay. So the mission is for Zenzino is to become the biggest preventative health company in the world through test-based, personalized nutrition. Okay. We are looking at preventative medicine, not just a quick fix, but going deep to the cellular level, not just the symptoms on the surface. Thank you.